Hey, have you ever wondered why, even though the internet is filled with self-improvement content, those resources haven't had much of an impact on your life satisfaction? You likely believe that some meaningful change is possible in your situation, and that society can improve given enough effort. But you don't know how impactful your actions would be, resulting in low motivation. As a psychology major who's been studying self-improvement for several years, I can help. My framework uses over 60 sources to provide holistic guidance.
The Theseus mindset emerged after unifying multiple popular mindsets alongside other research-backed claims, such as the non-limited resource theory, believing that willpower isn't fixed influences how much persistence one has, barring constraints like stress or low energy levels induced by poor sleep or health. Similarly, the abundance mindset emphasizes appreciation for all of the opportunities and resources that the world offers each of us, while the growth mindset sees work or challenges as opportunities for growth and eventual success. The paradox mindset conveys that being able to accept, if not be comfortable with, tension during decision-making allows one to persist and sometimes be creative. The experimental mindset counteracts overthinking by reframing new experiences as test runs, which ties into how the growth theory of interest asserts that we can cultivate new hobbies or passions and therefore find new ways to have fun and stay active. The lifelong learning mindset is about pursuing growth at all stages of one's development, thus taking responsibility for inevitable, unforeseen obstacles by fostering resilience through regular goal setting. Theseus' paradox is a thought experiment about the ever-changing nature of identity, and one interpretation of it is process philosophy, the scientifically compatible belief that reality is in a state of flux because it is fundamentally composed of processes. Evolution is another helpful metaphor because it acknowledges that advantages may become trade-offs or mismatches when paired with different contexts. Since change is often a gradual process, bear in mind how consistency triumphs over intensity in the long term, as demonstrated by the benefits of excellencism that discourages uninsightful overthinking by using self-compassion to mediate between flexibility and high expectations. The Yerkes-Dodson law even posits that mild to moderate stress facilitates productivity relative to task complexity, which is related to the stress-is-enhancing mindset. Recovery is essential, but recognizing the beneficial aspect of stress influences the effect it has on health, productivity, and well-being. While individuals can better understand and manage their thought processes by practicing mindfulness, interactions with strangers and acquaintances may be uniquely valuable due to weak tie theory. People outside of our immediate social circle are more likely to reveal unexpected nuances and opportunities. Another aspect of the Theseus mindset is the theory of narrative identity, which is based on how everyone's sense of self and purpose is an ever-changing byproduct of how they interpret their life experiences and are influenced by external forces. We help create the self-reinforcing cycles that guide our lives through neuroplasticity, the capacity of our brains to reorganize in response to our behaviors, with an example being how habitually venting anger aggressively both sensitizes and primes your mind for future aggressive reactions. Being mindful of the beliefs and biases influencing the word choice we use as the narrators of our lives can look like reinterpreting stressors with a realistic, optimistic mindset, while still addressing evidence to the contrary to avoid toxic positivity. Society and culture feed into each other through a process called mutual constitution, so it's valuable to nurture positive feedback loops by occasionally being proactive, even if that means being comfortable with leadership, to induce an uplifting feeling dubbed moral elevation that inspires good deeds in others. Furthermore, when we're able to take accountability without blaming ourselves for our genetics, upbringing, or environment, we will better align our actions with a relatively stable, growth-oriented identity without succumbing to an excessive need to be correct or consistent. Informed self-awareness is crucial since, according to the strategic mindset, open-mindedness guided by critical thinking is necessary for decisive action, as well as knowing when to commit or adjust. Critical thinking exercises self-discipline alongside curiosity to analyze factual evidence, as objectively as possible, and risks of not examining one's beliefs or self-interest include presumptuousness, naivety, irresponsibility, and unreliability. Humility, and specifically intellectual humility with regard to one's cognitive limitations or biases, is best when grounded in confidence cultivated through research, feedback, self-evaluation, and ideally familiarity with logical fallacies and cognitive biases. This is also how a confident yet principled group of scientists would conduct themselves, by maintaining self-respect and an openness to risk-taking while also internalizing that human psychology is flawed and that we don't know what we don't know. A concept dubbed epistemic humility. Overall, an ideal form of humility prevents intolerant or manipulative people from taking advantage of open-mindedness, a phenomenon known as the paradox of tolerance. But it also helps to be familiar with the practice of active listening in terms of clarifying the other side's stance, which allows one to better discern when it's time to distance oneself from the situation. Humans are creatures of habit, and while this can work against us, even in the pursuit of noble goals, boosting discipline through reflection and choice architecture, the optimization of our surroundings, or the framing of information to facilitate desired behaviors, transforms consistency into a tool. Our need for stability is strong and understandable, but it can cause us to oversimplify, such as by emphasizing categories over nuance. So we ought to consider the parallels between our ever-changing, increasingly diverse society and the ship of Theseus. It's not our duty to absorb as much information as possible. We must be able to say no, emphasize relevance and specificity while also using commitment devices to keep ourselves accountable through external means, thus effectively narrowing the intention-action gap as we evaluate progress and our self-efficacy, which is how one perceives their capabilities. Integrity is strengthened by reliably adhering to a moral code while also questioning the labels one has been assigned in order to help foster self-reliance and psychological flexibility, the capacity to act according to one's values despite discomfort, thus combating self-righteousness and people-pleasing, which is progressively important as over-attachment to beliefs causes society to become more polarized. Humility matters, not just for growth, but to prompt calibration of our behavior by comparing our ideas to trusted standards, meaning that both forgiveness and self-forgiveness are important in terms of helping people accept what's unchangeable or irreversible. We must consider how much random chance or the decision to rewrite one's destiny has shaped lives, and how existence isn't just what is, but what could be, a concept dubbed potentiality and actuality. Because of the immense value of sharing and especially analyzing perspectives or knowledge with each other, we ought to remember transactive memory, a phenomenon in which a group has access to diverse, verified knowledge because its members have taken advantage of specialization to delegate certain tasks instead of developing a shallow understanding of multiple domains. On a large scale, this eventually leads to cumulative culture. The amount of knowledge in any culture is far greater than the capacity of individuals to learn or figure it all out on their own. Socialization, the lifelong process through which people internalize their community's values, is very nuanced and shouldn't give way to stereotyping or disregarding individual variability. But it is one of various factors behind the higher rates of entrepreneurship and academic achievement associated with Jewish and Asian Americans. On the topic of community building, it's certainly not always enjoyable or convenient to do advocacy or activism, and it may not seem worthwhile to protest certain problems. But frequent, unstrategic inaction is a form of acceptance that overlooks opportunity costs and contributes to social dilemmas like the tragedy of the commons, the overconsumption of resources that occurs when community members don't have effective restrictions, or a culture that promotes sustainability or respect for nature and consequently conform to the norm of overindulgence. Empathy, energy, and time are elastic yet ultimately limited resources deserving of respect to avoid exhaustion, and this means that we have to reflect on our values and goals while also acknowledging the mind-body connection by exercising and eating a nutritious diet. Collective action has a compounding effect since delegation paired with the effective usage of our honesty, humility, curiosity, and resources challenges institutions and norms without long-term burnout, self-righteousness, getting deceived, or neglecting grace and reconciliation. Grassroots organizations are community-based advocacy groups that provide strategic platforms to help us coordinate attempts at stewardship and solidarity, particularly when we adopt a collaborative mindset by assessing how people's strengths or perspectives complement each other for a given situation, even if motives or incentives have to be questioned and boundaries need to be set. Effective collective action cannot occur without honoring wellness, an interconnected approach to health composed of 8 self-directed dimensions that are both gratitude-oriented and growth-oriented: emotional, occupational, intellectual, environmental, financial, physical, social, and spiritual. This is because when we're low on energy, rushed, or succumbing to peer pressure, our brains may take shortcuts called heuristics, which may be convenient but can result in detrimental behaviors like the status quo bias, herd mentality, and the present bias, which makes us underestimate future consequences. It doesn't help when we seldom challenge our brains and instead opt to frequently engage in instant gratification that becomes progressively less enjoyable due to hedonic adaptation. This passive overconsumption may result in low-quality metacognition, the act of trying to understand one's thought processes, or poor critical thinking, therefore diminishing our learning and potentially contributing to hyper-individualism, a societal trend to overemphasize self-reliance and personal interests while ignoring the needs of the group and societal inequalities. The consequences are excessive self-interest that neglects collective well-being and overvalues the in-group, thus counteracting attempts at trust building and resulting in disproportionate responses to the hardships or counterpoints associated with the out-group. Cognitive dissonance, the incompatibility experienced when information or actions contradict beliefs, worsens these issues since people often resolve this unpleasant feeling without fully re-evaluating their position or using the discomfort as encouragement. By making weak or contradictory excuses to continue believing what one wants to believe, humility, reasoning skills, and accountability are neglected in favor of comfort and fitting in. This is despite Solomon's paradox. We're often better at providing rational advice to others while failing to apply similar logic to our own lives. Regardless, this phenomenon showcases that we're more capable than we may give ourselves credit for when it comes to practical wisdom, also known as prudence, cautious decision-making fostered through habitual reflection, which coincides with healthiness and long-term success due to decreased impulsiveness. We need emotional regulation in order to facilitate proportionate reactions when faced with momentarily unpleasant hypotheticals, which may look like engaging in journaling or a mindfulness exercise to create psychological distance. Mental clarity achieved by interpreting a situation from the perspective of someone who isn't involved or hasn't been for years. Charles Darwin famously articulated that context-dependent responsiveness to change often results in surviving, if not thriving, even if his exact phrasing was misquoted. In accordance with self-complexity theory, each of us ought to have a multifaceted identity, since we're more resilient and competent when we're able to garner self-worth from various distinct sources as long as we also experience some identity consistency. In contrast to identity diffusion, the stress and lack of direction that arise from a needlessly inconsistent, unstable identity that can't sufficiently provide the values needed for one to effectively coordinate their actions for long-term goal attainment. Furthermore, recognizing how much nuance we have as individuals and how much will continue to change promotes healthy tolerance and grants one an open-minded yet grounded approach to social interactions. Even small goals provide insight, and while awe-inducing experience can induce beneficial if less stable shifts, the meliotropic well-being mindset demonstrates that engaging in pleasant yet healthy activities daily effectively promotes mental health. To summarize, subscribing to the Theseus mindset means embracing the ever-changing nature of our world by committing to a lifelong journey of self-actualization to garner relatively consistent insights into one's full potential, resulting in self-reliance and confidence derived from hobbies, passions, or even self-transcendence once one strives to uplift others. It's not about endless optimization or change for the sake of change. It's about complementing stability with adaptability that's accomplished through self-mastery and self-education, both of which are moderated by developing a practical anchor, a logical anchor, and a moral anchor, prudence, critical thinking, and integrity. Mind-body exercises like yoga, alongside meditation, breathwork, affirmations, visualization, and journaling about goals facilitate calibration by nurturing the mindfulness needed to recall life lessons during stressful moments, thus improving one's luck surface area, while also facilitating short-term flexibility alongside gratitude when eventually faced with bad luck or adversity. This process of boosting resolve is known as active patience, and it's improved by goal setting, healthiness, and expansion of one's social circle or social media feed to gain access to new opportunities, perspectives, and accountability partners. Additionally, the more we interact with others and reflect on said interactions in a structured manner, the more we help each other recognize each other's current strengths and shortcomings, which aids in superior comprehension and decision-making due to systems thinking, an appreciation for nuance, and how the individual components of a situation aren't as important as the relationships they have with each other, even if relevance and simplicity also must be considered. There are a few more concepts worth considering in terms of making citizens more socially aware, such as critical consciousness, the ability to reflect and act on one's socio-political environment, which empowers both marginalized and privileged populations by increasing awareness of what one can contribute to counteract injustices regularly. One should be sincere about their current values in order to sustainably exercise compassion instead of engaging in performative virtue signaling. So a first step may be as simple as using diverse, credible sources to educate oneself on reinforcers of systemic injustice like intersectionality and microaggressions. Relatedly, cultural humility refers to lifelong learning and reflection related to cross-cultural interactions to cultivate awareness of how cultural differences intersect to influence biases, assumptions, and behavior. Unique revelations and opportunities arise when people occasionally collaborate or debate people from other cultures, particularly when we align our behavior, cognition, and morality with prudence, critical thinking, and integrity. These three anchors are complemented by a balanced approach to wellness that stimulates the mind and body by incorporating mindfulness as well as the pursuit of new experiences and knowledge through goal setting and socializing, which matters since practicing all of these things makes us exceptionally fit to engage in collective action toward a better future.